It's the Gashouse gang from KMOX with Matt Pauley. I'm Tom Ackerman. Always a pleasure to be with you during these lunchtime hours. You may be watching us during replay or listening to us at night, wherever you are. We hope you're nice and warm because it is like an iceberg out there. How you doing, Matt?
I am good. Yeah, as you mentioned, it's pretty chilly outside, but it's not as bad today as it's been. We're gonna get up close to freezing today, so that's good. A little sunshine out there.
Yeah, and I saw when I go to on my caravan run on Friday, it's going to be 52 in Springfield, Missouri. That's what I'm talking about. I'm
Oh,
going to show up
baby,
there in a t-shirt and shorts. Let's go.
that sounds good.
Yeah, so we got the winter warm-up coming. We got the Cardinals caravan. We got the Cardinals in town. We got a lot going on. The Blues played last night. There was a trio of college basketball
hmm
games, a lot of stuff going on. We'll get into all that unless you want to hit it first, but I think for Gas House Gang tradition, we usually go baseball first, if that's good with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so, first let me promote something right out of the gate. You're going to talk to Rob Serfolio on Countdown to Opening Day, which will air tomorrow
Yep.
on KMOX from 6 to 8. We've got a lot going on, of course. We're the home of the Billikens. I've got the women's game tonight at Chaffetz. We have City. They started training camp. We have the Kansas City Chiefs. They play on Saturday. So all of our teams are active right now. But the Cardinals, first and foremost, I think get a ton of attention. They always will. And I think the Serfolio interview will be interesting. And it's kind of a prelude to what we're going to see this weekend at the winter warm-up. The front office is going to be available. They're going to talk to people out in front of the crowd. I think that'll get interesting. You know, Cardinals fans who go to the warm-up are not vicious online anonymous
Mhm.
people. I think they come out. I mean, I did one with Ollie Marmol last year, and that was after his team went 71 and 91. He was not as well thought of as he is today. I think that today he is in a much better place than he was a year ago today, if that makes sense. They were 20 games under 500. I think the way that he handled the team in 24 was thought of a little more, with a little more credibility, I guess. But back then, when things were not going well, even then, the fans, I thought, were very respectful, asked good questions. I would anticipate the same with the front office at the winter warm-up, Matt.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we need to remind ourselves, Tom, that what we see on social media does not represent what everybody out there feels. That's one of my favorite things about going out on Cardinals Caravan because you go to these cities where you don't get to see these people very often. And they make a few trips into St. Louis during the season to watch their Cardinals. But there's so much interest and so much appreciation from people in these cities that we bring Cardinals players to them. So it's always good to remember that, yeah, the fan base is unhappy. I'm not trying to run away from that. And there's certainly a group of people that are unhappy with John Mozeliak and Oliver Marmol and anybody else that is part of the decision-making process. But at the same time, I don't think those are the people that show up to winter warm-up so much. And I, like you, would agree that when John Mozeliak and Oliver Marmol and everybody else gets up on the stage and fans have an opportunity to directly, and it's really cool. I think the Cardinals executives and the DeWitts are going to do one as well. So there's going to be opportunity to ask ownership what's going on. But Tom, I think the questions are going to be respectful. I don't think it's going to be anything that's super uncomfortable, but I also would expect that there's going to be some very pointed questions towards those individuals, more so than we've probably ever had in the past. And I think the recipients of those questions are going to be willing to hear what's being said. I think everybody kind of understands where everything is at, but I am looking forward to that part of winter warm up because the fan questions could be interesting.
And Mike with the smart aleck comment right away, which I like the spice. I like it right out of the gate. It's okay. They'll be lucky any fans are at the winter warm up. Mike, it's a good spicy comment from you. I will correct you in that Mason Wynn and Jordan Walker's autograph sessions are sold out. So those are already gone. And I haven't even looked in the last week. So I know that others are sold out. So there are some fans coming for sure to Ballpark Village. Like I said yesterday, on the Gas House game, but not everybody watches every single show. Or maybe this was Monday. I don't know. They all run together. But the point is, I said this yesterday actually with Kevin Wheeler on the DGS. All these shows kind of run together sometimes for me. But I said that the winter warm-up crowd, the Cardinals Caravan crowd, is not just about the 2025 Cardinals. It is paying tribute to the history and the love of the franchise means a lot to the city of St. Louis and the surrounding region because of all of the years that are together, everything that we've experienced together, the highs, the lows, and a lot of highs. So people do come out to celebrate the history of the team, the brand, the logo. They're there. They wear the gear and all of that. Now, whether you buy tickets to 2025 and see that edition is up to them. I mean, they need to make sure that they show up, that they play well, that the dugout staff, Ollie Marmol and crew, do their job, that the front office does its job. But the fact that the team is not thought of to play very well, they might surprise some people and get people going in that direction. But really what this comes down to is when the front office is there, Matt, they just need to be transparent and explain to the fans. This should be a learning session for everybody, that you understand what they are trying to do. This should be the goal of the Cardinals, is to get the fans on board with what they are doing, to get them to understand what they are doing, to make them part of it, to help them understand what's happening, and to bring them in behind the curtain, if you will. Now, part of that we do, but we also cover the team. This is what we do. We ask questions. And I think that the questions coming from the crowd should be direct, to the point. You should ask and seek information. That's what we do on Sports on a Sunday morning, on Sports Open Line, on Countdown to Opening Day. We don't sit there and give opinion. We ask questions and seek answers. And that's probably what's going to go down at the winter warm-up, or what should happen, and they should anticipate that, and they will be ready with talking points. But I think they also can think on their feet and answer questions appropriately.
Yeah, and look, I think it's very legitimate to ask the Cardinals, hey, we understand that you're going through the reset. We understand that you're putting all these resources into player development. We understand that you're beefing up staff and you're buying equipment and you're doing all these things. We understand that, but was it really necessary to cut Major League payroll as much as you want to cut it, even with that stuff going on? Tom, I think that's a very legitimate question to ask of the organization, and I think the organization will be ready for that type of question.
Yep. And they're going to come back and say what they've already said, that their revenue return is not what they thought it was going to be, let's say 2 years ago with television. It's a little bit different. And they're going to go down those talking points as well, I'm certain. And the fans, Matt, and how do you respond to this? Because I know you get this a lot, as do I. The fans look at the DeWitt family and the associated owners and say, wait a minute now. I mean, we're talking about a group that's worth multiple billions of dollars. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go buy Juan Soto, Matt. I mean, they're trying to run a business.
Yeah, and it's always tough because it is a business, but also professional sports owners don't run teams. You don't make your money as a professional sports owner by a year to year revenue. You make your money by increasing the value of the franchise, and then it's worth a lot more. And the Cardinals obviously have done that. But even with that being said, there are still restrictions and some guardrails that are put in place. I think Major League Baseball owners as a whole sometimes can be a little bit too conservative and can run a little scared on some things. I mean, you just look at the last few years, whether we go back to COVID, whether we go back to the beginning of the TV uncertainty, all those things going on. It felt like owners they're more focused sometimes on the potential negatives than the potential positives. There's still a lot of positives. There's still gambling money is going to come in. You still did okay on the TV stuff. In a couple years, the TV stuff's going to look very, very different with more national TV packages, probably more streaming packages. But there's just a lot going on there. So if I owned a business, I think I would also probably look at you wake up every morning going, what can go wrong today? And I think sometimes baseball owners and sports owners in general run their businesses a little bit like that.
This fan base is a great fan base, and they've won world championships right in front of them. And so the standards were set a long time ago that this team, they do it themselves. They got a World Series trophy, giant-sized, sitting in their parking lot in Ballpark Village. I mean, this is a team, we remember the good times. See this thing behind me? That's a picture of the field after they won the World Series in 2011. I mean, it was great. I mean, things were great. And it's okay to celebrate those things and to continue to remember those and understand that the fans have high standards and the fans should not be criticized. I'm sorry, but I will defend those fans to the very end. They have done their job. They have come out to the games. They have spent their hard-earned money. They've bought food. They bought drink. They bought jerseys. They go buy hotel rooms. They come to St. Louis and watch the games, and they have done their job. So I can completely understand when they don't see something that they like, where they may turn or they may get upset or they react however they want to react. I mean, I'm an Indiana alum. All right. What happened last night against Illinois, we'll get into it later, is completely natural how those fans responded. Many of them walked out of the game in the middle of the game, period. Indiana fans, you better believe they've done their job. I mean, they fill that place. They buy the candy striped pants. They love Indiana University basketball. They have since they won their first national championship in 1940 and even before that. So they've been there. They've done that. They've seen it. You can't sit there and point your finger at Indiana basketball fans. They feel a certain way and they're tired of it. So, it's just that's the customer. So the team has to recalibrate, reset, retool, whatever they're going to do and figure out a way to win them back, but also at the same time run their business the way it needs to be run so they can be successful for many, many years to come.
And if I could just add one more thing, I know there's going to be people who roll their eyes with what I'm about to say, and that's okay. I understand why. I've seen some stuff on social media that the Cardinals should have made winter warm-up free because of the way things have been. And there's more free stuff this year where you can go to all the main stage stuff at Ballpark Village and get in without a ticket. It's a
fundraiser for charity.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with this. This is Cardinals Care. Whether you're happy with what the Cardinals do on the field or not, Cardinals Care, the charitable arm of the Cardinals, does amazing, amazing things in our community and throughout our region. And this is now their number 2 fundraiser. The 50-50 raffle has overtaken this as their number 1 fundraiser. But a large part of what they do comes from the funding that comes from winter warm-up. And I think that should be remembered, that you go and you enjoy it and everything. But there is very much a charitable aspect to what's going on this weekend.
This is the Gashouse gang from KMOX. We are the home of the Cardinals, and with Matt Pauley, I'm Tom Ackerman. Throw a Garland's note up there from Ohio. Each year I go to St. Louis for vacation for a week. I used to go to 3 Cards games. Started last year not going to the games. I'll watch it from the hotel room. Still love the Cards. Garland, with all respect to I don't care which hotel you're at. If you're at the finest hotel in St. Louis, don't watch it from your hotel room, for crying out loud. Watch it from one of our local restaurants. Buy some food, watch it on one of our TVs. What are you kidding me? Come on, Garland, you're on every show. You know this. Watch it from, you don't have to watch it from Ballpark Village, although that'd be fine. Watch it from, a mom and pop sports bar or restaurant. If you're going to come to St. Louis, to experience St. Louis, don't hide in the hotel room. Come on, Garland, you're from Ohio. You know what you're doing. Anyway, yeah, I mean, and what you said earlier, Matt, is absolutely true. And I totally embrace what the fans feel. I understand it. I grew up one, and so did you, Matt. I mean, it's out of love. I hope that everybody understands that. Even the most vicious stuff sometimes that you see that is inappropriate, that we have to brush off and that we don't like. But that doesn't represent the entire fan base. Every fan base has the wild people who just, fly off the handle and are anonymous. I mean, this is a bigger thing. Lauren is absolutely right. This is a huge fundraiser for Cardinals Care. This goes back into the community. This is exactly what the Cardinals are all about. They give back to St. Louis. They've been doing it for a long, long time. You can never criticize them for that. So this will be, I think, a very good weekend. I anticipate that the Cardinals caravan will be great. Mm-hmm. I think fans will come out to see their players, especially the young guns that are being sent out that are the promise of the future. And there will be others that are going to add to that group. You wait till J.J. Weatherholt pops out into a major league uniform, and anonymous pick number 5 this summer when that person is selected and becomes a St. Louis Cardinal. Things are going to get a lot better around here. Every franchise and every sport goes through this, Matt.
There is a good chance that at some point this season we are going to see a roster that includes J.J. Weatherholt, Thomas Sajasi, Quinn Matthews, and Tinkins. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, without question. I mean, and I think that you're going to have some really good talent possibly acquired here soon. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure if the Cardinals are done. They may announce a trade by the time we get off the air here. I don't know that for a fact. I mean, they are still working on deals, Matt. I mean, who's the first to be traded? Let me ask you this, because I get asked this on a daily basis. Where are you on Arenado at this very moment?
I don't know. And that's why people are asking you the question, Tom, because look, when I talk, and I know you talk to Mo every Sunday morning on Sports on a Sunday morning. I talked to Mo last week on the Countdown to Opening Day show. He said that he reminded us that there's still 5 weeks left before pitchers and catchers. He said that there's still conversations going on with multiple teams when it comes to Arenado. It seems like, this Bregman thing, you just want it to get out of the way, and then we can really start assessing the situation. If the Red Sox don't sign Bregman, which seems likely that they're not going to sign him, and then the smoke continues to go up connecting Arenado to the Red Sox, then I think it's something. But until Bregman's off the board, I don't think any of this means much of anything at this point.
Did you see what MLB Network said about Bregman today? I saw it on Twitter, at least, that the Cubs would be interested in Bregman is the speculation, if a shorter term, if Scott Boras were to reduce that to fewer years. Do you buy that?
Sure, I buy that, but if I'm Bregman, I'd rather get less AAV and longer contract, because he's at an age right now where he goes and signs a 2 or 3 year deal with somebody. He might have very little value on the backside of that. So if I was Scott Boras and company, I would not go for a short-term deal with Bregman. I would take less money per year and get the longer contract, because that's the better gamble.
Thomas, it depends on what you define as breaking news coming out of Cardinals winter warm-up. There will be breaking news, because when they do those Q&As with the media, there's usually a nugget or two that does break some news. Now, whether there's a big trade that goes down during the warm-up, I don't remember the last time that ever happened. Usually it happens before or after. I can't ever remember a trade going down during the warm-up where they brought in said player for a press conference at the hotel, or in this case, Ballpark Village. That has not happened.
Yeah, you want to get it done beforehand so you can have everything scheduled going in. That's from a logistical standpoint.
Throw Kelly's comment up there about the caravan. That better not be my caravan, Kelly. You better not be talking about my caravan in Southwest Missouri. Okay? I'm bringing Andre Palante and Matthew Liberatore and Riley O'Brien and Matt Koperniak, who played for the Fighting Albert Pujols, is down in the Dominican Republic. Plus, I have Benji Molina, for crying out loud, and Kyle McClellan. So that's a good caravan. Forget about me. I'm just the guy wearing a sport coat who's introducing them. That's a good caravan right there. No, Kelly's one of our great followers on Facebook who always tunes into the Gashouse gang. Caravan's fun. I mean, we get out there, and it's a good reminder. Before I get into more baseball topics, while I'm on this, it's a good reminder of how deep and far this fan base is, because we do hit all of those spots all over the place. And I think that's fun. I mean, I really do look forward to seeing everybody, all the radio affiliates. It's a really good time. This fan base is like a college football fan base. They hit a wide region of the South and of the Midwest. And we are going to be back as a group of fans and as an organization. I'm telling you, that day is coming. It doesn't feel great right now. I don't like any year that they don't win a World Series, let alone make the playoffs. I mean, even the years 2013 was a great year. They went to the World Series. I had a sick feeling in that clubhouse afterwards. Didn't feel good. I don't like that at all. You want to win the whole thing. But now it is time. It's time to figure out how to get this thing back together again.
Yeah, 100%. And look, I think they're on the path. They're on the road. I don't know how long this path is going to take. They're on the right road. But like you said, and just going back to Caravan, Tom, it is it is such a great reminder when people like us live on social media and live on the radio and have people coming at us all the time and everything. It is one of the greatest reminders that I can speak for myself, but I think all of us broadcasters who are on these various caravans, it's a really, really good reminder of who Cardinals fans are and what they care about. I'm doing the Marion, Evansville, Paducah, Cape Girardeau one. I did that one a couple years ago. I love that trip.
That's a good one.
And yeah, and I'm excited to be able to see people. And I've already heard from people that I met 2 years ago, the last time that I was on that, who have sent me messages on social media saying, look forward to seeing you again. Like, it's a really, really cool thing to be a part of.
We had an unbelievable time one time in Evansville because Don Mattingly was doing his baseball weekend the same weekend. So we acquired all these people that were going to the Mattingly event for one of our dinners in Evansville. Oh, baby, that was a great night. And that's the other thing, is that we get to, as broadcasters, and this is something the fans really aren't as in on because they're not on the bus with us, but it does allow us to tell their stories throughout the year.
Yeah.
And this is another point I wanted to bring up, is that we need to continue to do a good job as partners with the team of telling the story of what you're watching. Like, who are these people? They're not machines that spit out statistics. They are human beings. And I think that's been one of the great things about the Cardinals, is that their fans like to get on board with everybody and like to know who they're rooting for and what they're watching and follow their stories. Clint, I appreciate the comment. I've not heard my assignments yet, but I look forward, of course, to being part of everything that the team does from a broadcast standpoint. But Matt, wouldn't you say, I mean, don't you love to visit with these guys behind the scenes and tell their story?
Yeah, 100%. And one of my big talking points forever, as long as I've been working around baseball, is reminding people that these baseball players are human beings. They're not machines, and we don't know what's going on with any of them at any given moment. I like telling this story. When I was working in Milwaukee, there was a day where a guy did the stereotypical, extra inning game. He's the relief pitcher that's got to go cover 2, 3, 4 innings, whatever it is. You blow out this guy's arm, and then what happens? He gets sent back to AAA, and he's the last guy on the roster, and you're not going to have him available for 2 or 3 days. So he goes back to AAA, and somebody else comes up. The standard move that is made dozens of times by every team in baseball. And I'm walking out of the ballpark in Milwaukee, and I see him and his wife and his kids, and they're like, stuff's falling out of boxes, and she's crying profusely. Like this thing that you and me, Tom, look at as just this standard part of baseball, just this standard move. A guy threw a bunch of innings as a relief pitcher, so he's going to go back to AAA until there's another chance to bring him up. Like, to that family, it wrecked their world in that moment. And I think it's a good reminder for all of us that these guys are human beings.
You're watching and listening to the Gashouse Gang from KMOX. We're sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, with Matt Pauley. I'm Tom Ackerman. Matt handles, if you don't know by now, the radio network pregame and postgame during the week. I do some of those day games during the week. Joe Potts, our weekend man. We got to get Joe on some of these shows too. That'd be kind of fun. We have a great time with it. I love doing everything with the Cardinals and have for the last 27 years. And I can't wait for more. I'll tell you this. I do wait for the day when they are the envy of baseball again. And that is going to take some work. But what I mean by that is, there was a time when the Cardinals minor league system, heck, the Cardinals organization, was the envy. It was the gold standard. If you went to the Cardinals, you were going to a place where you were going to be taught how to do it the right way, but also you were going to excel. I mean, they had the best coaches. They had the best instructors. They had a great Hall of Fame manager. They've had several, actually, Hall of Fame managers. The Cardinals need to get back to that level, and it will take some time. But my question is, we talked about Roki Sasaki a lot yesterday on the Gashouse Gang. We actually did with Kevin Wheeler. Both of us did. And I did think about this. We wrote off the Cardinals, obviously, as a destination for them because, A, money, B, the chance to go win a World Series, C, probably it seems like the geographical location, the appeal of the West Coast, like Shohei Ohtani, and others, Yamamoto as well. But the other one was, would you want to go to a team where you know for sure they are going to be able to lead you down the right path to success? And I can't say for sure that the Cardinals are that at this very moment, but I think that's the whole point. Chaim Bloom is trying to get them back to that. John Mozeliak and Bill DeWitt brought on Chaim Bloom to get them back to that. Do you think that is a factor? And do you see a day when a Sasaki comes along and says, LA, New York, Boston, that's all cool, but St. Louis is where you go to be great?
It's a really interesting question, Tom. And I think when I look at what's going on with the reset, I think one of the most interesting aspects to it is how long is it going to take for everything to be in place? Because there's going to be some things that you see the impact this year. They're bringing a lot of smart people into the organization, and they're going to look at things a little bit differently, and they're going to try to help players in different ways, and we're going to see the fruits of those labors. But as far as like the data and technology and a potential pitching lab and all that sort of stuff, well, they can't even start building that until spring training ends this year. So the impact for that is going to be felt in 2026 and beyond. And you're going to have different type of instruction going on in the minor leagues. Well, guys are going to be going through the system. So in some ways, you're not going to see the fruits of those labors for, I think, 2, 3, 4 years. So let's get specifically to pitching and what's going on here. And we'll see what actually ends up happening with Sasaki, because he said at the beginning of all this, or his agent, Joel Wolf, said at the beginning of this, one of the things that was important to him was going to an organization that has the reputation for developing pitching, allowing pitchers to become, the best versions of themselves and things like that. If he ends up signing with the Dodgers, well, we can sit here and say, well, he just wanted the money, because the Dodgers, as great as the Dodgers are, their pitchers get injured a lot. That's not they do really good things. I think the Dodgers are the best run organization in baseball, but nobody's perfect, and I think the Dodgers still leave a little bit to be desired when it comes to pitching health. So if he signs with the Dodgers, I think what he said earlier was a little bit lip service. But I do think, to your question, I know I'm taking a long time to get here. To your question, how long does it actually take for the Cardinals to have that reputation as a team that if you go there, they are going to make you the best version of themselves? Because if you get to that point and a Sasaki type player becomes available and they actually do value going somewhere that's going to make them best, if that's something that is either right there with money or even more important than money, which doesn't happen very often, the Cardinals need to have that reputation. So how long does it take you to build that reputation? I think it takes a while. I mean, you got to get guys to the big leagues who have come through your minor league system, who have a track record. You got to have a track record of a bunch of guys getting there. So this is something that we're probably 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 years down the line. This is a long thing to build that kind of reputation. But yes, I do think if they continue to have this commitment, they're bringing I think the world of Chaim Bloom. I think Rob Serfolio is a rising star. If some of these guys are going to leave the organization for better jobs, you have to replace them with people who are just as smart. There's been a bit of a brain drain in the organization over the last few years. If the Cardinals can do what they're about to do, stay on this path, continue to have some of the smartest people in baseball in the organization, yes, I think eventually you can get to the point again where players look at you as a prime destination to go to make themselves the best version. But Tom, I think I think that's the last thing that happens all this. I think a lot of other things happen first, but to create that reputation, I think it's going to take some time.
Along those lines, let me throw a comment up there, if you would, Drew, from Ken on YouTube about the offensive identity. He's asking, are you buying, or he said, do you have an opinion on what type of offensive identity this team is trying to sell us? I don't know what that would be, except that they're trying to cut down on strikeouts with Nolan Gorman. They're trying to get Jordan Walker jump-started. Those are two big ones right there. What is the offensive identity they're trying to sell us? I would say, if I listen to John Mozeliak, they want to be athletic. Mm-hmm. They want to be exciting. They want to get people on base. Certainly, they want to add some power, because their power was completely sapped last year. But I think overall, what is the offensive identity to you, Matt? And is Brant Brown and company capable of getting that done?
So that, again, interesting question, because I think it goes back to what are the Cardinals going to believe in from a philosophy standpoint? When I talked to Mo last week, and we were talking in terms of pitching, but I think this is true for everything, he said that, things are going to change under Heim, that philosophies are going to change. And I would suspect it is starting a little bit right now. What you said, Tom, about being more athletic, I think that is something that they want, and you get that sometimes. Athleticism and youth can go along with each other sometimes. Not all young players are athletic, but you can lose some of your athleticism as you get a little bit older. I know that offensively they were not happy with the way things went last year. But to let me throw this back at you, Tom, because Ken said the offensive identity the team is trying to sell to us. And I'm not trying to take a shot at Ken here. That's not what I'm doing. But I don't feel like they have tried to sell us an offensive identity.
At least not yet.
Yeah. So it's hard to answer that question, because right now there's no way to answer that question, because I don't think they've tried. They've had a lot of other things they've been trying to sell us, but that's not one of them.
No, and I don't think that they actually know what their complete roster is going to look like yet in 25, to be fair. I mean, they still have a couple of moves still to make. Arenado is the biggest domino, of course, and then there could be others to follow, and then they'll start to put people in their positions, and you'll have a better idea. And let's close the segment on baseball with this, Thomas, because this is a common question. What happens to Marmol if the Cardinals start off slow? First 30 games, Cardinals are 15-15. I think he's fine. If they start off 10-20, I think there's a lot of noise. I still think he's fine. I don't think that Ollie Marmol is going anywhere. I think he's going to be the manager of the team in 2025. I think it is a fair question to ask when Chaim Bloom takes over on a regular basis, and that managerial hire is now in his court. What is the decision to be made there? That's probably a good question for Chaim. And an evaluation every year of the manager is very fair. I mean, Tony La Russa used to tell us all the time, that talk to me at the end of the year, and it's up to ownership if they want me back. He never assumed that he was going to come back the following season.
I think, I don't know Chaim that well, but I know him a little bit, and I've gotten to know Ollie over the years. Tom, they have to play, I think, pretty good baseball this year for this to happen. If they have a terrible season, they probably cut bait, and they probably bring somebody on new for 2026. But Tom, I know what I know about Ollie, and I know what I know about Chaim, and I think these guys would work pretty well together.
This is the Gashouse Gang from KMOX with Matt Pauley. I'm Tom Ackerman. I do agree with what you just said, by the way. I think that Ollie's in this position for a reason right now. I think he's the best manager for this situation. He understands the players that are coming up, the young ones, and what they need to do. There's good synergy within the staff, it appears, with Daniel Descalso and John Jay and others. He loves Dusty Blake, and really thinks highly of the guy he calls Brownie, Brant Brown. So we'll see how that all comes together. Matt Pauley, Tom Ackerman here with you, and let's shift gears for our final 5 minutes or so and talk about some other sports, because we could go baseball forever, and that is something I do love to do. But we have some other things to get into. Let me go down the line. Number one, the Blues won 2-1 over Calgary. They played better. They played gritty. Jim Montgomery seemed very happy with it. Love the way that they closed it out. No, they did not score a half dozen goals, but they won the game. 26 saves by Bennington, goals from Parayko and Faksa, and they got that job done. Your evaluation of the Blues?
Thought it was an important win, because if they don't win that game, all of a sudden, they're 7 points back of the final playoff spot. Now they're back at 3. They were 5 behind Calgary. So I'd like to see them score a few more goals. They scored that first goal in the first minute, and then they're not heard from again for quite some time. But this is a real opportunity for them. Back-to-back home games against Calgary. It feels like right now, Tom, that really, and I know there's a lot of hockey left to be played, but I think Colorado, to me, is clearly a playoff team. So for me, it feels like in the West, that final playoff spot's going to come down to Calgary, Vancouver, or the Blues. So when you're playing those teams, you got to have success. And I would have liked them to score a few more goals last night, but last night was one of those nights where I think you put to the side some of the aesthetics and you just acknowledge the fact that it was a really, really good win.
And now you get to play the same team all over again. They're
Yeah.
going to play Calgary again tomorrow in a weird scheduling quirk that does happen in the NHL. By the way, if you missed the show yesterday, the Gashouse gang, I suggested that the Blues go after Ryan O'Reilly and bring him back. He's not playing for a good team. Nashville stinks. He makes 4.5 a year. I know that's a hit that you'd have to figure out how to pay for him, but he would be a leader in some. If you're going for it,
Right.
then you bring him back. I think that would be. He's playing really. I think that'd be a fun player to have. College basketball, very disappointing night for St. Louis University. And Josh Schertz, to his credit, took all of the questions from Bob Ramsey and Earl Austin Jr. And before he even took a series of questions, he took some shots at his team. He said everything but called them soft, that they got manhandled, and he'd never seen that in his 27 years of coaching. And they did. I mean, it was embarrassing. They got outshot 72-37.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. I mean, I've never seen anything like that in my life, to get doubled up like that on shot attempts. And then they got out rebounded to the tune of 22-4 on the offensive glass. 22 offensive rebounds is very hard to do, but they did.
Yeah, there are some nights you look at the box score, Tom, and the box score tells the story. Last night's one of those nights. Those are damning numbers. It is just one game. They had a really good start to league play. They never play well at VCU. They've never won inside of that building. All those things are true, but for as much excitement there was building about the Billikens and as much positive momentum from that 3-0 start, it feels like in some ways they're a little bit back to the drawing board, because they're going to look at that film session, Tom. That's going to be the worst film session that the guys are ever going to experience maybe in their lives. When you're giving up 22 offensive rebounds, when you're being outshot 72-37, when these things are happening, there's a lot to work on coming out of it.
Yeah, that was ugly. Great win for Missouri. I don't care how they got it either. I mean, I know that they were up 16 at the half and ended up winning by a point. Who cares? They went to number 5 Florida, and they won a terrific basketball game. They showed a lot of guts. They won the game. They closed it out and got the win. And they were lights out in the first half, with Caleb Grill unconscious, shooting from 3 from everywhere. The bench was alive. It was Dennis Gates' birthday. It was a party down in Gainesville. Very, very cool. I love seeing Mizzou with a little celebration. You can never, ever sleep in the SEC.
No, wow, what a win. And I'm not a blame the officials kind of guy, but man, the officials, they were not Mizzou's friend in the second half last night by any stretch. There was that, the non-goaltend. There were so many things that happened. And, when they were up 5 with like 2.5 minutes to go, and I thought, yeah, this just not going to happen. I've seen this before. I've seen this play out. It's not going to happen. Give Mizzou so much credit. They found a way to win that game. And you look at their resume now, Tom, that's one heck of a resume. You've got to win against Kansas. The losses you have, maybe you can take a little bit of issue with that Memphis loss. It was the first game of the year. I think everybody say they should have won that game. But Illinois and Auburn being your only other 2 losses, this is a team with one heck of a resume, and I would expect them to be in the top 25 come Monday.
Just think if they had beaten Illinois. I mean, they almost beat Illinois in the bragging rights game in St. Louis. Illinois is really, really good. I mean, they are an excellent team, and Kasparis Yakachonis is a tremendous, tremendous talent. That said, they went into Indiana playing in a tough building at Assembly Hall, and half the fans, as I mentioned earlier in the show, walked out of there. The entire student section is chanting "Fire Mike Woodson."
Yeah.
Illinois put it on Indiana and made them look like a JV team for sure. It was terrible. And it was great for Illinois. I mean, I'm an Indiana alum, so I'm going to tell you how it is over there. Mike Woodson's job is obviously a topic right now. And being a college basketball coach is different than being an NBA coach or any basketball coach. A college basketball coach takes a certain temperament, it takes a certain aggressiveness and hunger, and I think it's fair to question whether Woodson has any of that at the moment. He's going to have to show, and his team is actually going to have to be a reflection of him, and now they've lost back-to-back games by 25 points. The only thing that you can assume is that they are not playing well enough for him. They're not playing enough enthusiasm, aggressiveness. That was embarrassing what happened last night to Indiana. And Illinois, to their credit, did exactly what they were supposed to do. They locked down the unbelievable defense that they are known for, and then they scored at a very high rate.
I'm not trying to pile on you here, Tom, but I mean, can you count it on one hand the amount of times the team has walked into Assembly Hall and had a first half where they put up 60 and basically double up Indiana? I mean, that doesn't happen anywhere. That is unreal.
Yeah, it was amazing, and they did it, and like I said, I mean, Indiana they were just like walking around like zombies. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And I don't want to take anything away from Illinois because they captured it and did what they were supposed to do, but it was really bad. I don't know that I've ever seen it actually that bad, to be honest. Hey, let me make sure that he gets his due. Yes, right there. There we go. Look at this lineup. Old Spaghetti Factory. Boy, that's a throwback. That's like when we were kids, we used to go down there for field trips. Hooters. I think that Hooters
for the
no
wings.
longer there.
Goes for the wings.
Yeah, that Hooters isn't there anymore. Hodak's. What else was on there? Crown Candy is an absolute beauty. Pappy's, Salt and Smoke Bogarts, Grant's Farm, the Muni. Good man. I hear you. I hear you. At the end of the day, after all that activity, Garland, you just want to kick your feet up in that hotel bed and enjoy. So let me give you some credit, and thank you as always for commenting on the Gashouse Gang. Thank you, Matt. Have a great rest of your day. You're going to be on before I'm on, right?
Yes.
From the Billikens?
Yep. We'll lead right into you with SLU women's basketball tonight.
All right, buddy. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks to Drew Young, our producer, and thank you for joining us on the Gashouse Gang from KMOX.